obviously tough result, mate, but I suppose how do you view the performance overall?
Poor, to be honest, extremely poor. Certain individuals didn't want to go about the game the way they need to at this level. And it cost the team, especially in the first half. It cost the team, it hurt the team. Basic fundamentals, and I'm not talking about the young and inexperienced players, I'm talking about some of our seasoned professionals.
Are there any positives you can take from the performance at all?
100%. There are positives like Darryl Lackman. Darryl Lackman, you know, you can tell a lot about a person when the chips are down. You can tell a lot about a person's character, you know, when shit hits the fan, how they react and how they lead. He's coaching players around him in the 85th minute, explaining things to players, still driving the team forward, still wanting the ball under pressure. There are positives in some key individuals, and there are some massive negatives for some key individuals. And I can see it, I can feel it, I understand this process. Players will get exposed, players will be a part of what we're building next year, and players won't.
I guess you had a strong start for that first 15 minutes, but then it all seemed to flip and you couldn't really get back into the game. Was there an area you could pinpoint where it started to really go wrong and they got on top compared to you?
Yeah, there was. There was a side of the pitch that we had trouble with defensively. And again, we don't have the time and the luxury at the moment to train and go through probably the detail we need to. So there are some circumstances around why you get a performance like that. That's our third game in 6 days. We had less than 70 hours to turn around and travel, you know, after playing Wellington, where the boys put in a big shift. So there are some reasons, but we had some difficulties, and people didn't want to fight, you know, even when the chips are down and things get really difficult. You've got to want to fight, you know, and you've got to compete, and some players didn't. And like I say, when the first goal went in, you saw some people lose their head, and you saw other people, you know, try and wrangle it back in. That process and watching that unfold was really interesting for me. I'm bitterly disappointed. I'm fuming, to be honest. I'm fuming, and there will be repercussions for some people.
Are you likely to make changes when it comes into the next game in terms of the team and who's on the pitch next week?
We don't have the luxury of making changes. We've got 15 players unavailable and injured. We lost another player yesterday at training in our only session in between the two games with a hamstring tear. We had another player, Mitchell Oxborough, on the bench tonight, unfit to play. We don't have the luxury of changes. Unless people come back off the injury table next week in Perth, we don't have the luxury of changes. So I can change the personnel to some of the younger players on the bench, and they'll be guys that are, to be honest, in the NPL off-season. They'll have played 1 or 2 pre-season games. They aren't ready to compete at this level, but I'll play them if I have to regardless, because that's the situation that we've been dealt.
Ruben, join the chance for AOP, mate. I mean, we've had discussions about just how long and extensive your, what sounds like growing injury list is. What's it down to? I mean, you've had a horrible fixture run, but so have a lot of sides, and they don't have anywhere near approaching this long an injury list. Is there anything else that's happening?
The scheduling and the fixtures through COVID for us, you know, the extensive back-to-back quarantines, there are a lot of reasons, you know, that we've spoken about and we keep harping on about. But there are also other reasons. You know, I was put in the position to be the interim manager until the end of the season and try and get us through this tough period. But I've been at the club for nearly 16 months, and I would say that the injury list and the position that the team finds themselves in is a culmination of a lot of mistakes that need to be reviewed. Like we spoke about last week, it needs to be reviewed, and it will in due course. And this is all part of the process. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom before you can start laying foundations and build the team back up. A lot of clubs and teams go through it. This will be the darkest period, you know, for Perth Glory probably. But there will now be a review done at the end of the season as to why. And you know, I've got a lot of things that have to stay in house, of which I believe, and I'll pitch them towards the club as to why we're in this position and why the injury list is so big, and things that were in control and to be honest, there are a lot of external factors that weren't in our control. So when you put it all together, mate, you get the perfect storm. And unfortunately for the club, unfortunately for the fans, unfortunately for me, unfortunately for the playing group at the moment, that's the position we're in, and we have to push forward to the end of the season until we get a chance to actually review it and fix it. And if I'm honest, like I said last week, this is not a team of my doing. I didn't build this squad. I didn't sign this squad. I've coached 5 or 6 years, and I've built those teams myself, even with the youth team. I started with my youth team at Perth Glory and brought players into the squad to fill the holes and the gaps I needed, and we had a good outcome. We played a good style of football. We had good results at the back end of the year. We played an attacking style of football. So this is a new situation for me. I have to get the team through to the end of the season, and then I'll look to build a team and a squad that will compete at this level properly and get us off the bottom of the table.
So it sounds like you very much want the interim label removed from your title. You want to be the one taking charge of this rebuilding process.
My ambitions as a coach are always to do what's best for the club. Right now, even though I'm the interim manager, it would be naive of me not to be looking forward at next season. It would be naive of me not to expose certain players for their flaws and for their weaknesses. It would be naive of me not to challenge the group through tough times and see which players react and conduct themselves like true professionals that want to be a part of the club moving forward. I'm firmly fixed on doing what's best for the club. Right now, that's the interim manager. I don't need that tag removed, but I have my own ambitions and I have my own aspirations as to what this club needs, and I'll definitely be pitching that towards the club.
Just last one from me, mate, before I let somebody else have a go. But as you mentioned, dark days for the club. This equals their heaviest ever competitive defeat. You've got 2 home games to finish the season back in Perth. The fans have obviously been rancorous across the past week. Just what's your message to them coming out of this as you prepare for one more game before you head home?
The message is pretty simple. The two heavy defeats we've had when we've had to back up 3 days later and travel on the road with a youth team pretty much. So it is what it is. My message to the fans is to hang in there by the club through tough times, which I know they will. You know, long before this tough time, there were other tough periods in the club, and the fans stick true because they're good. Like I said last week, they're passionate fans. They're good people, and they understand the difficulties that we're facing at the moment. The games that we've actually had a chance to prepare, even with a young team, they've performed quite well. So those 2 home games become massive for us in terms of actually giving ourselves a chance to give the fans something to get behind. But my message to the fans is the same as what it is to myself. You have to keep going. You have to push through the adversity. You have to stay really resolute in what you believe in. And they deserve better. I 100% agree. They deserve better than what they've got this year. They deserve better than what they've got in the last 2 years. And if I've got anything to do with it, we'll make sure that we fix these problems.
Hey Ruben, just Nick from News Corp here, mate. And again, commiserations on the defeat. Giordano Collier's really come along in the last few weeks, and again, really looked like he's growing as a central midfielder, and especially in his overall game. I guess, how have you seen his development over these past few weeks, in particular, getting these reps with these players out?
It's a good pickup, mate, about G. Collier, because like I said, you're looking for individuals in these tough times. When shit hits the fan, you're looking for the ones that hold their head and that continue to act like professionals. I've known G, for nearly a year and a half, if not longer now. He was my captain with the youth team. The guy trains as hard on a Monday morning as he does on game day. He sets a perfect example for his teammates as what being a professional takes. He encapsulates the club. He encapsulates the hard-working mentality, but still has quality. He's grown in leaps and bounds. He's a fantastic captain at youth team level, and now he's actually leading by example at A-League level. So I couldn't really sing his praises anymore. Still a lot of refinement in his game, still a lot of growth, still a lot of room for improvement. But the fact that he's willing to listen, the fact that he takes on information, and the fact that he's humble and professional and wants to keep learning will give him every scope to carve out a long career in this league and beyond.
Just one last one from me. Joshua and Asmo is another one as well, came on, and he was really the only one that looked like scoring towards the end there. Another one as well, his development this season, have you seen it?
Oh, mate, if you saw where Josh and Asmo was, when I picked him up, about a year ago, he didn't understand, anything in the game, to be honest. And he's a fantastic person. He's a fantastic story. And to be honest, he's not really ready at this level. You know, he's exposed a lot earlier than he should be, really. But again, he's honest, he's genuine, very caring person, very much a great character to have in the group. People gravitate towards him. And he came on there in a difficult period and put himself into the game and made forward runs and tried to get us on the front foot. So again, you can only really commend the attitude and the effort for him. I more want to focus on other players. You guys, have a look back at the goals, have a look back at the game. You can pick out G. Collier. It's easy to pick G. Collier. You can pick out Josh and Asmo. You can pick out Darryl Lackman. But then when you go through, there are other performances from individuals that aren't good enough. It's not good enough at this level. It's not good enough for this club. And whilst I'm in the position, I won't tolerate it. And if I have to pick them because I've only got 18 players, so be it. But when I have the luxury of a squad and when I have the luxury of fit players, these type of players that don't want to compete and don't want to do the basics well will not play for me and will not play for this club.
Just lastly, quickly, Ruben, you don't play again till the 24th. Looking at that injury list the club puts out, you're expecting Nick Fitzgerald and Osama Malik back for your game against Adelaide?
Mate, that was the only positive text I've had in the last couple of days, is that Fitz is going about his business really well and looks like he might be in contention next week. He gives us some much needed experience and to be honest, he's got heart. That's one thing I'll say about Fitz. He's got heart, which in this current situation we can certainly use. Osama Malik's foot was lucky that it wasn't fractured. He's got some swelling and some bruising, but he's actually back running and he'll be in contention again next week. Another experienced professional, which we need. So there's potentially 2 guys to come back in, but that's bearing in mind we just finished a game, our 3rd game in 6 days, and there'll probably be injuries and hiccups out of that group, to be honest with you. So we'll just have to review it, mate. Wait till we get back to Perth and go through that process next week and try and piece together the team and the squad.